Welcome back. Thank you so very much. It is Impact. We're talking this evening about the 2 children to a household. I have with me this evening, of course, Senator Reid, Dr. Glenda Sims, and Kevin O'Brien Chang. And we're talking this evening about the 2 children per household. Senator Reid proposed the issue in Parliament, and it has stirred some persons, rubbed some persons in the wrong way, some in the right way. But at the same time, we're very happy that at least the discussion and the debate has started because of this. Senator Reid,
yes.
when you talked about the PATH program, you talked about over 54% of the students in primary and secondary institutions being on the PATH program. Did you have any other data to support, separate and apart from the PATH program, to support your proposition?
Well, that is, first of all, you have to disaggregate that same data, because out of the 54% we're talking about, within that same group, which is the lower, remaining and lower percentile of the population, we have a higher fertility rate, and that is the issue. So already within that same data set, we have a high incidence of multi-children household. But beyond that, when you look at the very population data of Jamaica and look at the distribution along the pyramid, they're obviously at the high end, and over 75 right now is just about 100,000. However, at that critical age, which is the highest fertility grouping, 14 to 19, you have 278,000. Now, even at the current 2.4, if they are, each of those kids are going to have 2, I'm saying within 20 to 30 years, Jamaica's population at that rate would be 4 to 5 million. So let us understand the dynamics. And by the way, people forgetting that we have a diaspora, which has really helped. Even those numbers we have there was a high period of migration. So if it is we never had migration, our population size would have been much larger. In fact, we are even being survived now by remittances. And therefore, this discussion is important. If you're running a country, you need to understand the dynamics of your population, because you have the plan for retirement, you have the plan for the schools.
Let me just ask you, Kevin, do you think that really 2 is better than too many? Having 2, is it going to really solve anything? What kind of socioeconomic growth or development is there to be derived from it? Some people are saying whether you have 1, whether you have 2 or not, it's not going to change the face of Jamaica, the state that we're in. It's going to take more than that.
Well, let me go back to Ruel, Mr. Reid's proposal. He had another proposal, and I'm a believer in low-hanging fruit, you know. Instead of the state saying you can have 2 children, let us go, put every child have a father. Start with the area of responsibility. Because Mr. Reid's diagnosis is totally correct. We need more responsible parenting. This law has been proposed where the fathers name must go on the paper, right? And you can have a DNA testing if the father don't agree for no jackets, right? Mr. Golding, I remember a few years ago, proposed it. Big talk, 6 months' time, never happened. I've heard Ronnie Twaits talk about it. We need this law. Mr. Reid has proposed it. Well, maybe his leader should step up and support it, right?
What is your leader's take on that, Mr. Reid, on your proposal?
As far as I'm aware, that he supports the idea of social responsibilities. If you check a couple of speeches he made previously, he has spoken about the issue of unattached youth and what we need to do with it. That's why we came up, for example, with the CAP program. As regards to this, I'm saying that I am not proposing as a JLP issue the matter of a mandatory limit. What I pose it is that if there was an agreement, in fact, actually in the Parliament I spoke about a bipartisan approach. So we're in a democracy, so I would support that call if there was a process to put a policy in place. But overall, I think I know he's fully in support of social responsibility, which we together at the Ministry of Education, we were trying to fix the education problem. In fact, as I said, I know that the state doesn't have the resources. That's why we went to establish a National Education Trust that we're seeking private sector support through the public-private partnership. But, you know, unfortunately, he's not there to fix some of the problems, and I'm hoping that sooner than later he has an opportunity to lead the country.
But not even the 2 children one, the father. You must have the father in the name. I want to hear that one supported, because the other one is controversial. Having a father, every child having a father's name on the paper cannot be controversial. It's a right of a child. And you need more than the law. You need education. With Jamaicans, the men and the women need to realize fathers are crucial in children's lives. They're not optional. And I've long proposed an advertising campaign. You take look at our top sportsmen, Bolt, Asafa, Chris Gayle,
Johan Blake,
Marlon Samuels, Axman, the world champion. They all have active fathers. We need a program. You'd get these guys and their fathers showing, look, if I hadn't been like both fathers, if I never bust him a couple of times, the boy had a ton worthless, right? And if I'm saying, yes, that's true in a daddy. That kind of campaign, you need the law, the father payment the paper, and the education campaign to change the mindset. Fathers are not optional. They're crucial in children's lives. Children without fathers, Mr. Reid can attest to this.
All right, let me just get Dr. Sims in on this.
One quick point. I'm sure Mr. Reid will attest that the children who have active fathers perform much better in school.
Absolutely.
Well, let me get Dr. Sims on this.
I have no
Sometimes
no
women,
problem.
Dr. Sims, have said that, and we talked about two is better than two men. We've heard it from the 1970s, from the 1980s. Women of today, many of them, are selling themselves short. Some women are using their bodies as cavities to get a house, using the children to hold a man, using the children as a pension plan. Boy, I can have 5, because when one of them must come help me, and at the end of the day, the children suffer. Who is to blame more, the man or the woman?
Well, I'm not sure that it's blaming either man or woman. I think we have had gendered socialization. We are the products of a long history of negativity. And when women behave that, they're showing their negativity towards themselves as women. We are not cavities. We are not body parts. We are women. We are citizens. We have the right to our human rights. And that's what we must tell ourselves. And our governments, you know what is this?
But some rights, Dr. Sims, some will tell you, it's my right then to multiply. I've heard women to multiply and how about my lot? And in Jamaica, Kevin, it is that we have that ethos and that culture. Oh, I have about my lot, you have. And nobody says, do I have the household to put them in? Do I have the food to feed them with? As long as it is that my bloodline is being carried on, my name is being carried on, and I have these throng of children behind me to show as my prize.
So that's why I'm saying that we need to get back to, women need to get back to the education about themselves. We are not here to have out any lot. Who said that? Where did we get those ideas?
In the Bible, they say.
In the Bible? Well, that's another whole issue. I'll leave the biblical discussion.
Mr. Children have only children in the wedlock too.
Yeah, only wedlock. Of course, as always, persons quote parts of the Bible that suit their need and their occasion.
So I want to go back to this two-person children.
Yes.
And what Kevin said about, well, we are not in a communist state, whatever. I don't think it has anything to do with democracy versus communism. When the Chinese decided they wanted a one-child policy, it was one child for everybody, rich, poor, whatever. However, their family constellation is different from ours. So they could say it's one child per family or couple. But what happened? There was no gender analysis. They didn't go to the socio-cultural values that preferred the boy child. So when the woman get pregnant and they saw that it was be a girl child, they aborted them. Today in China, they have more men than women. They don't know what to do with them.
Country.
We must look at our socio-cultural values. In India, the same thing happened. You abort the girl, the fetus, right? In Jamaica, look at the socio-cultural values. Man must have lots of picnic and woman must have out there lots. How are we going to change those values?
I agree with that. Thank you so very much, Kevin O'Brien, Chang, and of course, Senator Ruel Reid. Dr. Glenda Sims stays with us. But when we come back from the break, Dr. Leakem Samaj and Dr. Knight will be joining us.